how people view the next year. Are they confident that next year will be better or worse? Here it is. What's your understanding of the quality of the common man's life next year? Will improve, say, 42%, but keep in mind that earlier 58% in 2020 and 67% in 21 thought life in the year to come would be better. Okay, so now will be the same is about 31%. 31% say it will be the same. In 2018 it was 14%, in 2019 it is 17%, now that's 31. So will be the same is 31%, and will deteriorate is 28%. In 2018 it was about 28%, so it's kind of just there. How would you be reading this data, Yashwant? The fact that the level of, you can call it exuberance or optimism, is more muted, but it's not as if it's gloom and doom either.
Exactly. That's how I read it. That, there is optimism. It is a bit of muted in that way because still the inflation issues are bothering them. Having said that, there is also data in the timeline, Rahul, which has to be seen before this term of 2019 to 24, and starting that data in 2013. That will give the context, in that way. Almost 8 out of 10 back in 2013 poll were saying a negative sentiment, saying that they are not really hopeful. Basically, when you look into the data of 2013 and compare to post-pandemic data, it is eye-opener, Rahul, that the way people used to express the hopelessness in 2013-14 time and the post-pandemic time are almost on the same level. That is what explains actually, Rahul, that why exactly these distressing numbers are not really turning into a political disaster for the BJP at this point of time. Simply because people are not only comparing it with the situation in post-pandemic, they are also comparing it 10 years back. Somehow this is a long-term trend line, and this trend line is giving the hope or the positive emotion for the respondent. And I guess that more than
okay, you make an important point. Let Supriya respond to it, because when you look at the data and the economic situation in our country, bear in mind that there is a war between Russia and Ukraine that goes on. There is a massive crisis in the Middle East which is potentially escalating. In China, their economy is in a black hole. Evergrande, one of their biggest real estate companies, has gone bust. And therefore, when you look at this data, Supriya, you have to bear what Rajiv Kumar was saying, that all this is happening at a time of immense geopolitical uncertainty.
And geopolitical uncertainty has been a part of Indian economy and Indian life since we coupled with the war. So this is nothing new.
No, but we're doing better than the rest of the world. Can I just call one second? Let me call that IMF data on the screen.
No, one second. No, I want to
the projection for India.
Please speak on this data, because I think your reading of this data is incorrect. You said the number of people who believe their condition is going to deteriorate next year has gone up from 25 to 28%. People who said will remain the same, from 14%, it has gone to 31%. So there is more doom. Lesser people believe it's going to significantly improve. If things are so hunky-dory, more and more people will believe their condition is going to improve, but more and more people don't believe that.
No, but you're clutching at straws.
I am not clutching at straws.
25 to 28 is not gloom, doom.
No, I'm not
clutching at straws. It is concerning, but it's not doom.
It's about how you read the data.
Yeah, it's about how you read the data.
You read the data and you said everything is hunky-dory, there's exuberance.
42%, 40, one second, come on.
There is no exuberance.
Listen, I read statistics, so don't argue with me on this.
No, I will argue with you because I understand statistics.
4 out of 10 people are telling you that they think their quality of life will be better.
Because
that signifies
no,
that's at this, not from the pandemic, not from the pandemic. At this moment,
Rahul,
when asked about outlook for next year, 4 out of 10 respondents are saying that they think their economic outlook will be better. Now you're saying forget the numbers. Now the numbers don't suit you, you're saying forget the numbers.
Because the problem is that you're trying to outshout me.
I'm not
Don't outshout me. Let me talk.
Go on.
Please don't interfere. Just like you gave everybody
go on.
a monologue, give me a 30-second
on,
monologue as well. The problem with the data that you're putting out is you are selectively reading it. If there are more people in the economy, almost over half, actually 2/3 of people believe their condition will either be the same or will deteriorate, I think it's gloom. I mean, where is the exuberance? 6 out of those 10 people are saying, "Meri condition ya to aisi rahegi, ya aur kharab ho jayegi." I don't know. I think that's selective reading of the data. But let me just make one important point here. We were discussing the Indian economy. We were discussing the MSMEs. The share of the MSMEs in global exports used to be, in our exports, used to be 50%. It's gone down to 44%. Share of MSMEs in GDP has significantly gone down. About 30,000 MSMEs have shut down in the last 3 years. Which economy are we referring to? Are we only talking about that K that went up, and are we not going to talk about the K that went down?
I just want to put this in context and call up on the screen the IMF outlook for the Indian economy and some of the other peer economies internationally. That will give you a sense.
Let's talk about the ILO data. The ILO data says
ultimately
wages are going
how
down.
India performs is relative to what's happening elsewhere. So the US economy projected to grow at 1.6% this year. In the Eurozone,
it's a $22 trillion economy.
0.5%. Germany, negative 0.3%. France, 0.8%. Japan, 1%. UK, 0.5%. India, 6.7% for this year and 6.5% for next year. Look at China, for example, 5.2% on a much bigger base, make no mistake. Russia, 3.0%. Brazil, 3.1%. Mexico, 3.4%. So the fact is, Rajiv Kumar, that the Indian economy, relative to how the other big economies are growing, is one of the strongest points of growth for the global engine.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that the Indian economy is doing much better than the others, and that's because I think our domestic demand and our, whatever we might say about the consumption and investment, both are the strong pillars here, and it is going to be the fastest economy. But I've also said, Rahul, very often, that we should not be complacent at 6.5.
Oh, sure, of course.
We need a much higher growth rate.
Now, respond to the point that Supriya would make, that your promise was double digit, right? Relative to that, if you say you're settling now at 6.5, 6.7 and are wanting credit for it, that's not fair. You promised double digit, you're far from delivering that.
Rahul, first of all, you had shown this earlier slide, about the global economy, how the global economy is performing. India is contributing almost 17-18% of incremental growth, global growth. That itself suggests that Indian economy is the engine for global growth right now. Secondly, before pandemic, we definitely have expectations, but we had seen 2 wars, we have seen pandemic, yet our economy is much better than compared to any other economy in the world. Secondly, what is more important, in terms of the expectation and exuberance and people's expectation from the government, I think this is the best ever time in the history of independent India where people have confidence in the government, people have confidence in the leadership, people have confidence is from the party who can deliver to their expectation, and their welfare scheme is being run. They are the beneficiary of the welfare scheme, and they feel that there is a government who can deliver to their door everything what has been promised by them are not being delivered, but now has been delivered to them. Stop, let me just complete. I have never interrupted you. So people's expectation, that's why we say that we will definitely improve our number of seats. We will win this year from 2019 purely because of what we have delivered to the people, and there's expectation of people's confidence in our relationship.
If Dr. Kumar says here, and if Zafar Islam says everything is hunky-dory, he believes the 2 important pillars, consumption and investment, are very robust. I have given you statistics where consumption is collapsed. I'm giving you statistics where gross fixed capital formation is still under 30%. So, I mean, which numbers are you basing your optimism on? Which numbers are you basing your arguments on? Because there certainly seem to be a number that either it is not being tracked or a number that is not in the public domain, sir. With all due respect to your economic prowess and to his political prowess right here.
Consumption as percentage of GDP was 58%, 58.2 in the pre-pandemic years. Is now gone up to 62. It's increased. You see the data.
Sir, the pace of growth. There is a reason why rural wages are going down. You want to quote the IMF? Look at the ILO report on wages. Indian wages are consistently muted.